solidarity with you because it's about a collective love and respect for one another. We got advocates and activists, and then I see also your family, your other union families that came to support. I see thank you for making this trip to come to Missouri to stand with us and to fight and to be here on the picket line in Missouri this afternoon.
Being invited to a picket line is not an honor to be taken lightly.
Thank you, to the workers, because without you, there are no record profits. So I'm here to stand in solidarity with you.
That extended hand comes from a sense of mutual relationship, of trust, and most importantly, of action.
It's about a collective love and respect for one another. And what does that look like? Our collective struggle and our mission, it is so intertwined. What happens over here happens over there. If it happens in Wentzville, it's happening in Detroit. If it happens in Detroit, it's happening in Toledo. It happens in Toledo, it's happening in New York, and so on and so forth. And for me, as the daughter of a former union meat cutter, my dad over there that was hollering, I know firsthand how unions can help people to live better lives, good lives, providing safety for families and better benefits. So to you, all my UAW siblings, I want you to know you deserve to have your needs met.
We're all here today because our economy is in a special kind of crisis. Our whole economy is in a special kind of crisis. Now, if you ask a Washington insider or a Wall Street analyst, they will tell you, I don't know what you're talking about. They'll say, look at GDP, look at the growth rates. They'll say, look at job numbers. How are we in a crisis? And that's an easy thing to say for someone who primarily experiences this economy on paper, who aren't choosing between childcare and work, or medicine and rent. It's easy to say that when you're not making those decisions. Because those of us who do have to make those decisions feel the economy in the calluses of our hands and the aches of our joints at the end of a long day, when we don't have any time left, proper time to spend with our children or loved ones. That's where we feel the economy. And that is where this crisis is going on today. What the figures in Washington and Wall Street don't reflect is that in a time of record profits, CEOs of the big three are giving themselves 40% raises.
The senators say, if you strike, you're fired. Simple concept to me. Well, let me lay out a few simple concepts to me. When executives can afford yachts and multiple vacation homes, yet their workers struggle to afford to pay for housing, that's a red flag. It's time for a change. Now that's a simple concept to me. When workers who build the Chevy Colorado can't afford to buy a Chevy Colorado, that's a red flag.
Reality is, we are living in an absolute economic crisis of inequality.
When the big three raises their prices on cars by over 35% over the past 4 years, but UAW wages have only gone up 6% during that same time, that's a red flag. It's time for a change, and that's a simple concept to me.
UAW, you are all showing all the working people of this nation that the only way to change the tide in an economy that is built for the 1% is only if working people of all backgrounds and differences come together and act. And that is what the stand-up strike is all about.
Workers are putting in longer hours. You're putting in all of these long hours to be stagnant wages. And that must change. And that's why I support moving towards a 4-day, 32-hour work week at the same rate that you are currently demanding. working and living paycheck to paycheck. No one should be working and living paycheck to paycheck while corporations brag about their record profits to their shareholders.
The way we win this is to know that solidarity is the strategy. Solidarity is the strategy. And I want us to reflect on that, because the 1% in this country does everything within an inch of their life to break the grip and make us turn on each other. That is what they do. They finance a media to divide us by race and geography and class and culture. They make us argue over whether people of different identities deserve rights. We need to unite and stand up for ourselves and stop this nonsense and demand the economic dignity that we all deserve.
Auto workers have earned the big three, $21 billion in the first half of 2023, and yet workers are making 10% less than last year? Does that sound right to you? The CEO of GM makes 362 times what its median worker makes, and I don't think that any CEOs are worth 362 times more important than the workers who are building their product. So local 2250.
So when they say that prices have to go up to accommodate treating workers right, we say that it's their greed and excess that has to end. When they claim that they have to lay people off, we need to remind people that the average worker in this country has to work for 400 years to make what these folks pay themselves in one. And when the big three don't want to take the value of their workers seriously, then they have given workers no other option but to force them to value their labor with a stand-up strike. In 2008, after these same executives gambled people's homes and millions of Americans went into foreclosure, they had the audacity to turn around and blame the same workers getting kicked out of their homes. That is an outrage, and we have to say the math ain't mathing there. It doesn't make any sense there. That's an absurdity there. And in 2008, these members saw their pay and their benefits cut, all for a myth and an IOU for them to say one day when we are better, we'll make it right. Well, time to cash the check. It's time to cash the check. Choo-choo? Choo-choo? And I'll end with this. We started this whole gathering today by pledging allegiance to that flag right there. By pledging allegiance to that flag right there. And that flag means something. It means something. This is the flag of the United States of America, whose red stands for valor. Valor of the Americans, all the Americans, including the labor activists who died and spilled blood so we could have a weekend and health care. The white stands for purity of our intent and commitment to one another as Americans. The purity of our unity, the purity of our love for our fellow man. That blue stands for justice and vigilance. It stands for dedication and justice. But this flag doesn't mean those things just because someone said that. This flag means those things because we dedicate and live up to it with our actions. That's what makes that flag mean something. We do not pledge allegiance to greed. We do not pledge allegiance to Wall Street. We do not pledge allegiance to corporate profit. We pledge allegiance to the United States of America, to our fellow